Do we have any public comments?
Not from me, from email, no.
Seeing that there is no public comments, we will move to the next.
Have a raised hand.
Oh, okay. Good afternoon.
Unmute. We can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Yes, good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon.
I just requested for the 3 minutes public comment, please.
Yes.
So I have the permission. Yeah, I have the permission to go ahead.
Yes, would you state your name for the record?
Okay, thank you so much. My name, I'm sorry, Mrs. Chairman, dear board member, respectful attendees. My name is Omar Atiyat. I am a tenant of Southwind Villas Apartments since October 2017. I am a single parent, choose to raise my 4 elementary school ages daughters, putting a goal to provide them with decent life, help them to get the possible higher education level. I understand this is for a public, not for my personal issue, but I want to give a picture about myself before I start about the main issue, which is public. And out of my control circumstances ended me to be a public housing subsidized apartments. There was success in my life as I got a high level of education, worked on real estate management for about 3 years, and 2 years in real estate management and development with international group of companies. About 2.5 years ago, Housing Authority Board put, I don't know if the same members still until now, they put the former COO in paid leave after Housing Authority employee, Mrs. Linda Sims, went before the board in an unusual presentation during the public comment portion of its November 2018 meeting. I believe it's the same like these 3 minutes. And this is the window I will use it now to reach the commissioners. Mrs. Sims told the board at that time she had concerns about accountability, misconduct, abuse of power, sexual misconduct at the agency. Later, Mrs. Sims told Jacksonville Times Union, it's a local media, and this is, of course, I have the reference for all of these. She put written remarks she prepared for last month's meeting touched on subjects, including safeguards against financial fraud, safeguards against financial frauds, how information about abuse of power, complaints are disclosed, which as I am a victim of this abuse of power, complaints are disclosed to the board, and hostile working environments that can drive off employees. This is in Jacksonville.com, which is Florida Times Union. Mrs. Sims, she's a long time Jacksonville Housing Authority employee. She witnesses all the stages since she started, and manager of executive affairs now. Those allegations led to a long time investigation, ended up with firing the former COO after he got retirement for, of course, after he got retirement for conducting sexual behaviors in violation of Jacksonville Housing Authority policies. All other allegations were disappeared from the investigation. Accountability, it's all become one case, one particular case, all these concerns. There's nothing about other accountability, misconduct, abuse of power, safeguards against financial fraud, or how information about abuse of power complaints are disclosed to the board and other concerns. After Mr. Alexander became the interim president and COO and vice president for the agency, with help from Mrs. Sims, her office door to door with his office. You cannot say a word in Mr. Alexander's office without being heard by his partner, Mrs. Sims. Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. Ohan.
Yes,
Can you
ma'am.
hear? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you're past your 3 minutes.
Oh, it's, okay. So I cannot complete?
You can round up, but you passed your 3 minutes. I give you a minute to round up.
A minute, okay. So, it's not enough a minute. Can I ask for, in this meeting, can I ask for, to myself to be presented before the board and give my concerns? And I tell all of what this about?
It's still gonna be 3 minutes.
Okay. Yes, madam. Okay. Yes,
Hold 1 second. Yes,
I
Commissioner.
don't know if he's reading it, Madam Chair, but if he has it in writing, he could submit it to the board in writing.
Okay, if you have it in writing, you can also submit it to us in writing, and we will review it.
yes, I have it in writing, but it's like a reference for me. I'm not that good in writing as it's in my second language. So I'm not sure it's going to be understood the way I write it. It's just the notes. I like a guide. I take it to arrange my points to be able to understand it all. Okay, I'll take another 2 minutes if you don't mind.
You said another 4 minutes?
Yes, please.
I'll give you another, can you wrap it up in a minute?
Okay, I will skip. Yes. Oh, sure.
Let me
Yes.
put it on the floor to the Board of Commissioners, okay?
Yes, I
Let me
will.
ask the team and the Board of Commissioners, all right?
All right.
Just hold 1 second.
Yes.
Ms. Lazikia, he's asking for, this is public comments, and he's asking for an additional 4 minutes. Do you want the Board of Commissioners to make a motion, or how should we deal with it?
Well, through the chair, as you're aware, typically in these meetings, you only grant the members of the public 3 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
Just, be cognizant of the more minutes you give one member, you have to equally give that same time to anybody else that comes behind him. You are the chair, so it is completely in your discretion to cut this member off at the 3 minutes that's usually given to the public, or as the chair, you can allow him more time. It's really in the purview of the chair, but if you would like to place this in the purview of the board and not make a decision as a chair, then you can certainly get your input from your other board members.
Okay, all right. Okay, to the Board of Commissioners, I would like to know y'all comments on this, because as Ms. Lazikia have said, that if we do this, we will have to allow to all of our public comments, especially this meeting, to go longer than 3 minutes.
Well, I made my suggestion was that he put it in writing and submit it, and I agree with you allowing him the minute to wrap up.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
Okay, all right, so pretty much all of the Board of Commissioners have agreed that if you would, Mr. Omar, put it in writing to the rest of it to us, but we'll give you 1 minute to make your valid, one of the most important points you want to make in that 1 minute.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Yes, Jacksonville Housing Authority is suffering from corruption, exploitation by greedy, incompetent, and dishonest individuals. Mr. Alexander and Mrs. Sims are the leader of this corruption. I do have an evidence for each word I am saying. I have evidence. And please, I ask, I don't know, I just cut off on the minutes. So this is what the point I want to you to please to put it in the public. So Jacksonville, my beloved Jacksonville, the people of Jacksonville City, your public dollar, your public interest, your right of your share in your community are seized by corruption. And I'm here whistleblowing for that. Thank you so much, madam. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Mr. Omar. And if you don't mind, if you can try to get it in writing and submit it to the Board of Commissioners, we definitely will review it. Okay? Maybe you can get somebody to help you write it.
Okay, if you don't
And-
mind,
and
I
through
can
the
send the
chair-
draft.
Okay.
Yes, hold on, our legal team want to speak. Yes, ma'am.
Well, through the chair, I just wanted to just make it clear that at all of our public meetings, the public has a right to make a public comment. They aren't required to put anything in writing, but as a board, you certainly have to allow them 3 minutes. He can come to the next meeting after that, and utilize that 3 minutes. The city has many agencies for allegations like this. We have a city's ethics office. All of that information is online. We have an Office of Inspector General. That information is online. So I just want to let everybody know, to the extent there are any allegations of corruption or anything else, really encourage you to go to the right proper resources within the city so that there can be a fair investigation as to those matters. Okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Please, can I give just a second to explain something about this?
Mr. Omar, you can come back to the board meeting
Yeah.
on next month, and you can take another 3 minutes to bring your points. You don't have to write it. That's what our legal team was saying. Or you can reach out to the OIG, and you can, if you want to make a formal complaint, like she said, we have various people in the city that you can make a complaint to, okay?
All right, thank you so much.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
it.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
As one board member, when a member of the public or anyone makes comments similar to what was shared by this resident of public housing, certainly I would like to make sure that everybody understands that as one board member, I take those things seriously. And would hope that we would get, if he says he has evidence that he would find a means by which to communicate that with us, because we have fiduciary responsibility when people are talking about the things that he was talking about and suggesting that there are things going on that are not as they should be. So we want to be transparent, and I just don't want people putting things out there and they not be investigated or resolved.
Right.
And of course, there was not enough information in just the comments that he made that would allow us to actually do anything. I don't know, and you may be aware of, Mr. Alexander, if he has made something in writing or some allegations here to the office. I don't know.
That's me.
Yes, Mr. Alexander.
Mr. Omar came to a board meeting several months back, and he made these allegations. He also been to the OIG, which requested specific information from us. And we've been working along with general counsel with him on many cases. And we have, to the greatest extent possible, we tried to accommodate him. These allegations, we don't know where they come from, but we're definitely working with general counsel, and we are moving forward with the Housing Authority's business.
Can I ask one last question, please, Madam Chairperson? At what
Yes.
point does the board become aware that the OIG is investigating or that serious complaints have been lodged against the agency?
That's going to be a question for Ms. Lazikia to answer for us.
Right, through the chair. So I think the board will become aware of that when it actually happens. I haven't been made aware that there's been any serious allegations that the OIG is investigating. And so I'm happy to circle back with my team. And again, as you can imagine, if there is such an investigation, it would be very confidential. It isn't something that we want to talk about in a public meeting at any detail level, because we're dealing with allegations and we're trying to make sure that the proceeding is fair and it's impartial. But without having consulted with my colleague Ariel Cook, who would be involved with that, I can tell you that I'm not aware of any. But if there were, you would absolutely be informed, and in probably a more non-public fashion. Okay.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lazikia. Did that answer your question, Commissioner? Phillips?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you, for your, comments.
Madam Chair, could I respond?
Oh, yes.
Let me rephrase that. Let me say that we had an OIG inquiry, not investigation.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's
different.
Inquiry,
That's
yes.
different, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, all right. Okay. So we'll go on, with our agenda. At this time, we are gonna open up to our Board of Commissioners for, electing officers. And Ms. Lazikia, anything you want to say before, I get started with the election?
No, well, yes, always have something to say. I just want to remind the board that pursuant to your bylaws under section 5, you are required to have a chairman and a vice chairman and any other officers, including the secretary as deemed necessary. Your bylaws do lay out duties for the secretaries and duties for a treasurer. But of those 4 officer positions, I only see the chair and the vice chair as being required mandatory officer positions. The other 2 is up to the board. So I would recommend you at least vote on your permanent chair and your vice chair today.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. At this time, we're gonna open up. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yes, Mr.
Madam Chair, I didn't anticipate we wouldn't have additional board members here today. We have 2 additional board members, correct?
No, just one.
Ms.
Ms.
Sue?
Resigned from the board.
Okay. So I guess I'm a little hesitant to try to elect the new officers with only 4 members, which is, we have a quorum. But I'm not certain that we're basically sort of creating a circle for ourselves. I would prefer that we had our other board member here in order to do officers, so we could have, full input from that. And I'm not trying to say we should hold it up, but I just prefer, my preference would be to have all the board members, active board members present in order to elect officers.
Okay, back to our legal team. Ms. Lazikia, did you hear, Mr. Briggs, Commissioner Briggs, his suggestion?
Through the chair, I did. So recall that when Mr. McGowan resigned, I informed the board at the time that you have a provision in your bylaws that state that once the chairman is out, the vice chairman automatically steps into the chairmanship for 30 days. And then your bylaws read that, at the time it was the mayor, that's been more appropriately read to be the board, that from that 30-day point, the board has 60 days to then make a permanent appointment. So really at the end of, March, I can't recall the exact date. I think McGowan might have resigned shortly before your January meeting. So, we're at a point where you are, Mrs. Brock is expired in her 90 days. So at a minimum, if the board doesn't want to take action and go without not having a vice chairman, I would at least recommend that you extend Mrs. Brock as the chairman, since she's out of this 90-day window, not maybe by a week or 2, extend her for at least another 90 days another 30 days until you get to your next board meeting. I would not recommend the board not have a chair in place.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Phillips.
unfortunately, because we only have 5 members, the potential for there being 4 members at the next meeting would find us in the same position. So, and there is greatly that potential. depending on the date of the next meeting, because I will be out of the country.
Madam Chair,
Yes, yes, Mr. President.
okay. I am, I guess I want to direct my question to Ms. Hodges, if she has any information on how many new board members we have in the hopper.
Yeah, through the chair to Mr. Griggs, my knowledge is there are no new board members in the hopper. I know that the administration is working diligently to find volunteers to fill the now two seats that are vacant, but there hasn't been any legislation that's been filed by the administration, because remember, the administration has to file the legislation and then the city council confirms those appointments. The other thing that I offer, if the board is not comfortable because you aren't a full sitting board yet, that maybe you at least put a chairman and vice chairman in place until such time that you get a full board, or you do it for a temporary time period. Normally these positions are serving for at least a year. But you could always, just for the sake of administration and having some leadership in place. If you only have a chair and then something happens to the chair, then you're in a position where there's no leader in this organization. So even if you were to just temporarily assign or appoint a chair and a vice chair for the next 90 days with the hope that maybe the administration might have some more appointments in queue, that would put you in a better position. There are just day-to-day things that the chair does with respect to signature, oversight, with respect to the CEO, that I just would not want this agency to not have that in place, particularly when, we're coming off of an IG report that really focused and talked about governance issues.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bozia. Any other discussion to the Board of Commissioners? So, that being said, would we like to move forward? Yes, Mr. Bruce?
I don't think we have any other choice at this point. By the time we get new commissioners, new board members, they still have to be onboarded and brought up to speed. So we're talking another couple of months to put us in, that would still keep us in interim atmosphere. So as long as we have a quorum, we might as well do it.
Okay, so that being said, I would like to make an appeal to my Board of Commissioners colleagues that I would like to serve as the chair for our board. I've been engaged with the RMCs and the RAB board for several years now. This being the first time a resident has ever hold the position of chair. And I would be most happy to serve in that capacity if my colleagues of Board of Commissioners will approve that.
I'll move that we continue with Ms. Brock for the next 90 days as the board chair, and upon seating of a full board, that we would move forward with the new election.
Okay. It was, yes, ma'am.
Just before anybody seconds that motion, Ms. Phillips, would it just be better to appoint Mrs. Brock in this position until you get those other two members? My concern is that while it normally takes 60 days to get legislation through, what I can't control is the amount of time that the administration is going to take, through no fault of their own, of course, to submit legislation. So it could be another 6 months or another 9 months. And so do you want to tie it to just the 90 days, or do you want to tie it to having a full board?
But you make a good point. I don't know, I'd like to hear what the other board members say.
Madam Chair,
So why don't you second, and then we can
Okay.
discuss it, and
I'll
I'll
second.
amend it
I'll
if
second.
necessary. Okay.
The motion was moved by Commissioner Phillip and second by Commissioner Briggs. It is now open for discussion by the Board of Commissioners.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I see the intent, and I think what we would like to see is a full board elect the chair. And so I see the intent there. And so I'll go with that, because I think it's better if we have an informed full board to take that, to take that step, or close to a full board. I mean, this is, we got 4 people here. I don't think it's fair for 3 people, for 3 missing spots to put permanently see a chair. So, yeah, I think that's where I want to go with that.
Any other commissioner for discussion?
I'll call question.
So through the chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to make sure, because I think Ms. Phillips' motion included the 90 days. And what I thought I just heard Mr. Griggs say is that he would be okay with tying it to a full board being in place. And so if that's the case, then I need Mr. Griggs to amend a motion to amend Ms. Phillips' motion that's on the table that would have tied it to 90 days.
That wasn't my intent. My intent was, I was just vocalizing that it's better for us to have a full board. If that occurs in 90 days, and so be it, and we'll address it at that time.
Okay, got it. So then the motion that's on the table is fine. Thanks for that clarification.
Okay.
So the motion that is on the table is that Commissioner Phillip has made a motion that we will leave me in the chair for 90 days. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
No opposed? At this time, we would need to, motion carried. I'm sorry, motion passed, carried with majority votes. At this time, we will do election for Ms. Lazikia. So when we do the election for the vice chair, we would carry that motion that we just made for the vice chair as well for the 90 days.
Right, through the chair, that would make the most sense probably, so that those 2 positions are aligned.
Okay. All right. So we're this time getting ready to do a vice chair for 90 days. And then we will come back to revisit. I, as the chair, would ask you, as the Board of Commissioners, if you would speak at this time for the vice chair. I nominate Annabelle if she would be willing to serve in that capacity.
I would for 90 days, but I do not know that my time allows for a long-term arrangement.
Okay. Anyone else that would like to serve in that capacity? Hearing what Ms. Annabelle just said.
I just left.
Well, we'll make a, well, at that
I'll
point.
second the motion.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So it's been, moved and second, by Commissioner Phillip that, Ms. Annabelle would serve, Commissioner Annabelle would serve as vice, VP, as chair of the board. Thank you so much.
We didn't
I
vote.
think we should have to vote.
Yeah, right.
All in favor? I'm sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The vote is anonymous, so Ms. Commissioner Annabelle, we thank you for serving in that capacity as vice chair.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just want to make a note that, given the time that, you're gonna lose me as a quorum at 3:20. So,
Okay, we'll move swiftly. Can I get a motion for the approval of our minutes for March 15th, 2021?
I move approval of the minutes of the March 15th, 2021 meeting.
second,
Okay, second. I just quickly want to thank the Jacksonville Housing Authority along with Mr. Alexander and the board's commissioner for such an excellent ribbon cutting opening.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I apologize. The minutes say that meeting was called to order by me last month. That has to be an error.
I saw that.
Which minute? Because this one says Chair Brock announced that in the March. Chair Brock requested a motion. What page is it?
First page.
We can't hear it.
Oh, under public comment.
Public
Call to order. Chairman Charles Griggs, it says, call the meeting to order at 2:04. So with
yeah.
necessary
That's-
correction.
Yeah, we need to make a correction on that. That was called by the chair. Thank you, Commissioner Briggs, for catching, that. So with the necessary, corrections to our minutes stand to be approved by the Board of Commissioners, changing the call of order to Commissioner Harriet Brock. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There's none opposed, it's accepted, our minutes have been accepted and approved. Under, comments, I would like to say that, again, thank the Jacksonville Housing Authority for the ribbon cutting and opening at the Way. Such an excellent, excellent job done, Mr. Alexander, with you and your staff. Y'all done a great job, with that. And the resident that spoke at the Waves was very appreciative of her being able to get a unit, and we was just so excited about hearing her testimony. Thank y'all again so much. Thank y'all. Thank all of the Board of Commissioners who participated, Commissioner Phillip and Commissioner Briggs. We thank y'all for your attendance along with legal, not our legal counsel, but our city councilman was there, and we thank him for being there as well. And all of those that participated, senior staff, everyone, we thank y'all. Next item on the agenda is our finances. Mr. Dennis.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. We're looking at the financial statements as of March 31st, 2021. So we're halfway through our fiscal year, which ends on September 30th. So all of our budgets, we're looking at being right at 50%. So we're going to start off with our operating income. We have net operating income at the end of March of $536,678 for the month, and for the year we're at $3,205,029. For our central office cost center, for our income, we're looking at a budget of 50%. We're a little low at 49%. This is due to our management fee income being under by 1%, and also our interest income being down just slightly. For our central office expenses, we're up a little bit. We're at 51%. It's about $18,000, so there's nothing really significant that's in here. It's mostly related to COVID and treating that for the past 6 months. For public housing, again, we're at 50%. Our actual income is at 60%. This is mainly due to Hogan Creek, which is receiving operating subsidy for the first 6 months of the year. And it had been anticipated that we were going to close on the WAD conversion already. So we're still earning income that we weren't expecting. For our public housing expenses, we're budgeted year to date at 7.1 million. Our actual expenses are at 7.5 million. So again, we're about $400,000 higher than budgeted. This is again due to Hogan Creek being on the public housing books instead of the RAD books. For Section 8, our income is right at 51%. This is primarily due to our HAP expense being above budget. For our Section 8 expense, we're at 49%. The 49% reflects a lower than expected administrative expenses. For our affordable housing, which is Gregory West, our income and expense are right at 50%. Our actual income is about $5,000 higher than what was anticipated, so we're right on track with our income. Our expenses for Gregory West are right at 44%. We were anticipating that to be lower for the first half of the year, so we're very, very good right there. And then for our RAD properties, our income is at 26%. This is primarily due to the Hogan Creek conversion. It's not occurring yet, and there were some. The waves had a little bit lower income than what we were anticipating.
Madam Chair, can we ask them if they can enlarge that, even with or without my glasses? I can't read those. Can we get that larger? I think on that little view button down there. Okay, that's better, thanks.
Can you see it?
I can.
For the expenses, for the income at the RAD properties, we're at 26%, which is right on track. For our cash balances, we ended the month at about $35 million. We're doing very good with our reserves. So the board has approved about $1.5 million to cover capital expenditures. We still have about $153,000 remaining to be expensed for the year. And then every month we look at our quick ratio and our MENAR. For the month of March, our quick ratio is averaging anywhere between a little over 3 to about 8, and our MENAR is between 6 and 20. So we're doing very good with both of those. We are working on a little bit of adjustment to get some of the lower quick ratio properties a little bit more cash and to kind of spread that out a little bit. Any questions about the financials?
Yes, Commissioner Field.
I have a couple of questions. I know in some areas where we were not meeting budget as far as the percentages go, you indicated that that was due to COVID. I was of the impression that most of the COVID expenses were going to be reimbursed, or many of them were going to be reimbursed.
The one place is the central office, and we're not getting any additional funds for the central office because it's non-federal. We just operate it with management fees.
Okay. And the other question was on the first slide where it showed for section 8, a negative of 430, that's all related to Hogan Street.
The section 8 negative is for the voucher program. So the negative is actually the voucher portion. So it's, what that's telling us is that we spent more in vouchers than we've received from HUD so far this year. The negative is okay in our case because we have more HAP reserves in our bank account to just pay that with. And per HUD rules, we're restricted to use our HAP funds only on HAP expense.
Right.
So I believe we ended last year at about $700,000 in HAP reserves.
Mm-hmm.
So that $400,000 is spending down that $700,000 that we have.
I'm gonna give you a call, so we can talk about that.
Any other commissioners have any questions for our financials? Can I get a motion? Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to connect what I heard you say about Hogan's Creek, that it was causing a deficiency.
It's causing the income and expense for public housing to be higher than expected. It's also causing the income and expense for the RAD properties to be lower than expected because we haven't done that RAD conversion yet.
So normally, through the chair, may I ask the next question? So normally you would convert at the right time when the project is complete,
Right,
it would
right.
transition to the RAD entity.
Right.
So
We were-
it's just classification at this point,
Yes,
so
it's just
due dates.
classification of where it was budgeted.
Okay, and then do we still have access to continue to fund the expenses that are over budget?
Yes.
Okay,
That's how the income is over budget, because HUD is
Right.
still funding us the operating subsidy,
right.
and we still get the income from that property from the
Right.
residents.
So we anticipate it will balance out
Yes.
at the point that it's converted. Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Briggs, I saw you turn.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Can I get a motion from the Board of Commissioners for our financials?
I move it to approve our financial statements for the March 31st, 2021 period ended.
April 19th.
Historically,
Oh,
we-
sorry.
April
Well-
19th.
Well, April 19th is now. These are the March 31 financial statements, right?
You did March,
Yeah.
okay.
Do we typically
Yes.
approve the financial statements?
Information on.
It was for information, it typically
Okay.
is for information, and we don't.
It's just
actually
to approve
them.
them.
Okay,
Right.
The motion is,
okay,
so do we need a
Um,
motion?
no, okay. So, Ms. Lazikia, because we're gonna lose Mr. Briggs at 3:20.
Yes.
So when he leaves, can we continue with the meeting or we can't because we don't have a quorum?
Right, so you won't be able to take any action. That's what happens. And, you definitely need to take action on the CEO evaluation.
That's what I was
don't know
gonna do.
if at this point in
That's
time,
That's what I was gonna do.
if you want to ask Dwayne if any of these items are urgent, where you need to take action today, or if you want to defer them, that's a conversation you could have at this point if you don't feel like you're going to get through all this business in 20 minutes.
Yeah, one of them is pressing,
Sure.
the May 1st one. Yes, Ms. Alexander.
Yeah, to respond to, General Counsel, the top three are the same ones we bring to the board we bring a write-off to the board every quarter.
Yeah.
And the top one is the insurance that we bring to the board every year.
Mhm.
And the bottom one is just that we increasing our bandwidth and our storage space on our servers so that we can be able to use this new wireless system that we have. So they wrap it simple.
So I think we'll get through them pretty quick, it sounds like it's what you're saying.
Okay, all right. We're ready, Mr. Alexander, for our resolutions for, JHA, 2021 JHA, Resolution 12.
Yes, this is, we're asking the Board of Commissioners to approve the JHA property and content insurance for the year beginning May 1st, 2021 through April 30th, 2022, an amount of $703,289,000.
open for discussion. Yes,
Madam
Commissioner.
Chair, my only question is, what is the current annual premium for this? I know last time we had asked that I had asked that for the resolutions, if we could have the backup information on the screen when you're discussing it, but if you could just tell me what the current annual cost of the insurance is, that would be helpful.
Actually, the insurance didn't go up from last year. It didn't go up at all, and we did receive $182,000 for dividend this past year as well.
I move approval of the resolution number 2021 JHA 12.
Can I get a second?
Second. I'm sorry.
It was moved by Ms. Phillip and second by Annabelle and Mr. Briggs. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There are none opposed. That resolution 2021 JHA 12 will approve by the Board of Commissioners. Our next resolution is 2021 JHA 13.
Yes. We're asking the board to approve the write-off of $17,884 in delinquent repayment agreement. And this is our quarterly write-off.
Accounts receivable, this from tenants.
Yes.
I move it.
Okay, it was moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Our resolution, you have a discussion? Okay. Resolution 2021 JHA 14.
I move approval.
Second.
The motion was made by Commissioner Phillip, second by Commissioner Briggs. All in favor?
I do have just a comment for benefit of Ms. Fernandez. These do not go away even though we, for accounting purposes, write them off.
We continue to try to collect.
And if they go into any public housing anywhere, they would be flagged, is my understanding. And so we would get that funding before they could be approved to go into any public housing. So typically we get a report that tells how much they've collected because the team has done a good job over time of collecting these past due balances even after they've been written off.
That is correct.
So just a
Thank you.
comment. Call the question.
Call the question. Can I get a vote for a resolution 2021 JHA 14? All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. JHA 2021 JHA 14 stands to be approved by the Board of Commissioners. Our next resolution, 2021 JHA 15.
Yeah, we're asking the board to approve $25,000, just utilizing Azure Microsoft program to increase the storage capacity that comes with the increased cost of current outsourced IT services. We are now moving to that paperless platform, and we need more cloud space. So this is what this resolution is asking the board to approve.
Move approval.
Through the chair, just one question. Is this a one-off fee? Is this an annual fee? Is it a monthly fee?
It's a one-time fee. It's a monthly fee?
Monthly 25,000? Oh, the 25,000 is, they average the monthly fee to make that
A
the
year. That's the full year.
But that cost will change.
It will change.
Yeah, it goes
Okay.
up and down based on the actual
Absolutely.
storage.
Oh, okay. Okay. Can I get a motion?
Move approval of JHA 15.
A second.
Okay. It was moved by Commissioner Phillips, second by Commissioner Annabelle. Mr. Briggs, you raised your hand. You was trying to.
I do have a question.
You had a question?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. We're in a position. I just wanted to find out, as you said it was part of the $275,000 contract, and this is an increase to the contract itself
Yes.
to $300,000. Okay. Do we budget for that, or where does that come from?
We have funds, we have additional money.
And this is a new contract.
No, this is, I'm sorry, Commissioner. Yeah, this is a piggyback, well, not piggyback. It's additional service with an additional with a company where they had a contract. We asked them to go outside the scope of work that we originally had them underneath contract for. If they wasn't really understanding that we was going to another platform.
Okay, so I'm piggybacking on through the chair, Ms. Griggs' question, is it a new contract or is it an amendment to an existing contract?
It's yes, an amendment to an existing contract.
It's an add-on.
Yes,
So the original contract was $275,
yes,
and then now this brings it to $300.
yes.
And how long is their contract? This,
It's 2 years. No, the contract, go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
We signed for 5 years with every year we approve, the services every year. So it's a total of 5 years, and then we go back on for bid.
so it's a total of 5 years for a total of 300,000. Or was it 300,000 a year?
300 a year.
And that's for all of our software services.
All of our IT, that's all of our IT services.
Okay.
Just hand raised. I don't know who it is, but they're.
I have a hand raised on,
Yeah,
But we're in the, we carry a vote, so
yeah.
we can't.
Okay,
And allow that.
Colleen will see.
so, oh, okay.
She's trying to,
Procurement person.
she's a
So
procurement,
y'all want me to let her speak?
it'd be helpful.
Okay, can you speak, Ms. Colleen?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
So the contract, this is it is a new contract. We just approved it last month. This is with our outsourced IT company. This, as Mr. Alexander explained, is for additional services for storage that we're going to need once we move into the paperless environment. The contract is currently set at 1 year with an option to renew for up to 4 years.
Yes.
And it's 300 a year.
It will now be 300 a year, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners? Okay, it was already, the motion was already made and second. Now we call it to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. This, resolution 2021 JHA 15 was approved by the Board of Commissioners. Thank you. At this time, we're gonna, ask for Mrs. Reed if she would come forward with our evaluation for Mr. Alexander.
Yes, good afternoon, Board of Commissioners. Each of you received a packet with the performance evaluation for fiscal year 2020 for Dwayne Alexander, who is serving as interim president CEO. The first evaluation is the consolidation of the board members. So each board member submitted a performance evaluation for the interim CEO, and then the score was compiled. His overall rating was an excellent, which was a 4.01. If we went through each of the competencies, you will see starting on the second page under communication, excellent 3.83, leadership 4.06, excellent, facilities management, excellent 4.34. Under each one of the, under each one of the objectives, you will see there are comments. The comments are compiled from each board member. So every board member that made a comment under the objective, that's where you'll see that we identify those comments. And then I'll pause.
Thank you very much for compiling this information and presenting it to us. Madam Chair, at the last meeting, I raised a concern, though our general counsel, I think representative, indicated at that time that all board members had an obligation to do an evaluation. My concern was that the period of time that is covered by this evaluation, several of our newer board members were not even members of the board during that time. And I thought that it would be difficult for them to evaluate performance for a period of time that they may not have been serving on the board. At that time, I indicated certainly they could provide input based on what their experience has been since they joined the board, but that maybe we should not be including their numbered scores in the overall evaluation. But it appears, based on my brief review of this, that all present members' evaluation numbers were in the compilation that was done, which I think unfairly skews the evaluation process. And so I'd like for legal, I don't know if Ariel is on the phone or if Ms. Hodges can answer that question, if they can respond to whether or not it's appropriate for an evaluation to be conducted by someone who was not on the board at the time.
Well, you're gonna ask them,
Yeah.
Ms. Lazikia?
Right. So through this chair, I mean, I think it's very appropriate for board members, and this is not anything that's unique. Any given board, you have members coming on, you have members coming off, and you know the CEO reports to the board. And the minute you step foot in that board ship role, you're the boss of the CEO, and you have duties as a board. Whether it's evaluating, whether it's doing your budget. I mean, there are board members that may come on 2 weeks before the end of the fiscal year, and the minute they get in that seat, they are expected to take a vote on the budget and be prepared the best that they can. So I definitely think from a legal perspective, it is appropriate and expected. And this is very common throughout our consolidated government when you have this influx of board members coming on and off. Now, I would defer to your HR expert as to whether or not there should have been some prorating with respect to the time. And, you know, whether your HR person did that or not, and Ariel isn't here on this call, we can certainly, I can try to get her in the next few minutes, but I know Mr. Griggs has to leave that in another 13 minutes. But, you know, whether or not your HR expert feels like there's a method that she could have come up with to appropriately apportion the time. And even if she didn't, I still think you can include in this evaluation your comments. The same comments you've just made can be added to the evaluation, so that is properly noted in this evaluation, and that point is very heard and it's very transparent. So I hope that helps.
Just one last question. Can I ask, Madam Chair? When were our new boards members seated? I'm not sure.
Through the chair, we were not here at all. It doesn't matter. What I like to say is we do have 15 minutes, so I'd like to know what it is that we need to vote on, because I don't think this needs to kind of lapse to the next meeting.
Absolutely.
So it's,
Exactly.
I understand, we've all read this, we've all written them. I agree that it's not a perfect process. I agree, Ms. Hodges, that we're expected to do this. I understand, it's just we have less than 10 minutes, and if we don't address it, it'll be another 30 days before we can address performance and compensation for the fiscal year ended October of 2020. So we're we're almost there in 2021.
Exactly.
So out of respect for the process and Mr. Alexander, I think we should just, what do we need to do to get this done?
So
Is really what I'd like to.
I agree with you. And just to answer quickly Ms. Lazikia's question, there was a consolidation that was utilized. However, there were some board members that opted not to evaluate a certain competency because they didn't have sufficient information. So it's calculated accordingly to take into account for that. And to your point, I'll turn that back over to Ms. Brock in reference to what needs to be voted on so that we can carry on here.
Yeah, because, so we're gonna, the Board of Commissioners, we really, for real, any other comments? Because we really need to deal with this, because it is not fair to Mr. Alexander that we keep drawing it out. And so we definitely need to deal with this today, before Mr. Briggs leaves. So is there any other comments before we accept the, evaluation?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
in the interest of the business at hand, I will do my best to stay until it is concluded.
Okay, okay.
And at a very minimum, Madam Chair, I would ask that my concern be noted and included as a part of the comments in the evaluation.
Yes, okay.
Through
All
the
right.
chair, to make you feel more comfortable, Commissioner, I did leave blank the areas that I did not feel I had any way to put my input. And I did add comments if I didn't have enough information.
And I appreciate
want
it.
you
I
to
noted
know.
that when I reviewed it, but not all of the new members were as gracious.
I completely understand.
Okay, so, that being said.
One last point, and one of those persons has since resigned, but her evaluation was still included. Is that correct?
Absolutely, because at the time that she submitted her performance evaluation, she was still an active member of the board.
Exactly.
So she submitted her evaluation prior to her resigning. So that was part of the computing of the evaluation score.
But she was one of the people who was not on the board during the time that the evaluation covered.
Correct, but in the sense of, even from an HR perspective, for example, so if we have a new leader that joins this agency, all of the employees are still required to have an evaluation. So it is on the onus of the leadership to do due diligence, research, look at reports, history.
That's correct.
That they can utilize the information provided to still give an evaluation rating. So regardless of if the person was in position at the time frame defined, we still as leaders have an obligation to give an evaluation. So that is the reference point that council made to us in this process.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. Any other comments on the evaluation? Any other? At this time, we're gonna, ask for a motion to accept our evaluation so we can move to the next step for our evaluation.
I move it to, did you say to accept it?
Yes, our evaluation.
I'm making a motion to accept the evaluation for FY 2020.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, it was moved by Ms. Commissioner Annabelle and second by Mr. Briggs, Commissioner Briggs. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I am opposed, but I am going to, in an effort to move this forward, because our rules say that you have to have 4 affirmative votes. So I am concerned, as I have noted, with the way that it was conducted. And I do believe that it is skewed based on what I believe is lack of involvement and knowledge of some of the board members during the time of the evaluation, because they were not present or involved in the process. So I will go with it just so that we can move forward in reference to Mr. Alexander and the tardiness in this process.
Okay, so all commissioners is in favor for accepting our evaluations with the necessary comments put in the evaluation that Commissioner Phillip have made, Ms. Reed, to this evaluation here. And so, all in favor? Again?
Aye.
Okay, none opposed, so our evaluation has been accepted. At this time, we're gonna move now to
Madam Chair,
yes.
may I just say one thing? Again, I understand the intent of Commissioner Phillips's objections. And I think that HR is aware of that as well, given the situation. Is there something that we can have as maybe the board can review as a policy going forward regarding evaluations, that if we're in this position again, if the board's in this position again, that can be addressed prior to the evaluation?
So great question. Back last month, I sent you all an email with a draft of a policy for the CEO performance evaluation. So we can revise that draft to add in those different methods that you want to be reviewed as part of policy. And we really need to close that out as part of finalization of the yes.
OIG report.
Yes.
Yes.
So that'd be a great segue for us to capture how we administer the CEO evaluation.
Okay, and just to be, I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
I was gonna say, Commissioner Briggs, that was one of the things that I had already spoke to Ms. Reed about her doing, also so that we won't be at this place again, so late as Commissioner Annabelle already pointed out with this evaluation. We have a date that we were gonna amend to our board policies that we have already, that she had sent us the email to overlook, and I was gonna ask y'all today for to amend that to that, so that we can have that in, in place for, moving forward.
Okay,
For the
thank you,
September
ma'am.
30th year end, we really should start the evaluation in August, so that we'll be done.
That's what I'm saying. So she has the date. I had.
So in our employment policy manual for the agency, we're doing evaluation September 1 through September 30 for the fiscal year. So one of the recommendations that I provided to Ms. Brock is that you all adopt the same process for the CEO evaluation, but with what Commissioner Briggs said, we can add in additional criteria where you build in what performance goals and objectives that even a new board member coming into a seat would have a guide on how they would evaluate.
Okay, and just one more thing. I think it's important because Commissioner Fernandez did, she spoke about how she used her deference in being able to, decipher whether or not she wanted to do, but it shouldn't be on her.
Absolutely.
She shouldn't be put in that position, or any board member shouldn't be put in that position where they have to make choices about which part of the evaluation they're going to choose to participate in based upon the information they have before them or lack of information. Thank you.
And Madam Chair, I did say in deference to Mr. Alexander and moving this process forward, I was going to vote affirmatively for this because it's not Mr. Alexander's fault that the evaluation was not done in the fall of last year. And so I too don't feel it's right to continue to be in limbo with this, that we need to get going.
Through the chair, that was my primary concern, and fully aligned. Through the chair as well, I would like for all of the board members to actually review that policy that we received and actually see the level of specificity on the goals and how we're going to keep track of those in order to be able to manage that transition to new board members. I also don't think that 30 days is enough, so I would definitely include that as you did. But it would be good to have a copy in writing for our next meeting with our comments prepared to address. I don't know if that's something that we address publicly, but if you can organize that part of the process, it would be good to address it in the next meeting, if possible.
We already done.
Yeah. But to comment to you, Commissioner Annabelle, we did address those things maybe was addressed in our governance meeting when we put it together. And so, yeah, we definitely can have that put together. But to move this evaluation, at this time, we're gonna open up for discussion for Mr. Alexander evaluation to the Board of Commissioners. Now we need to give the financial of what we're gonna do at this time. Am I correct, Ms. Reed?
Yes, so a performance-based compensation increase is a discussion that you all have had.
Okay, so.
We're doing it now?
Yeah, we have to do it now because we're trying to get it approved so he can get his, you don't want to do it now?
Oh, that's fine. I just want to make sure I had the information.
I'm sorry, where is that? I did not think
I don't think.
We don't have a recommendation.
Yeah, we don't have a recommendation. We
to-
have to do it. We have to make the recommendation.
Understood.
Do we have anything?
We have the current
You want to know
The
what we
existing
did
pay, please, yes.
last year? What we did last year, we did 15%.
And that was in reference to, well,
So what's the base salary now? Is that something that can be disclosed in public, or do we just
Yes.
discuss the
it's
increase?
public information.
Ms. Reed, can you give,
What's the current?
Yes, I'll give it to you exactly. I'm sorry, I had provided it to Ms. Bartley. Give me 1 minute.
While she's looking that up, what I was about to say, Madam Chairman, is that the 15 was not solely based on performance. That was because he had not received an increase, as I recall. And maybe you have that information relative to him stepping into an interim. And so that was included in why it was elevated.
If I may add correction, because we went through the history of his compensation, the 15% during evaluation period last year was based on the evaluation. So he
Right.
received a 15% increase for evaluation. Now, he received an increase prior to that when he went into the interim CEO position. And if you give me a minute, I'll give you those definite percentage and dates.
And I don't have my computer, so I can't look up, and it probably was not captured in the meeting, but a lot of that discussion was based on where he was moved as a part of stepping into the interim. There were board members who felt that it should have been more at that time, and because of the extended time that he had been in the interim position. And the work that he had done, the good work that he had done.
Thank you.
So Mr. Alexander is currently at $180,578.74 annually.
108?
180,000.
Okay, yeah.
$578.74.
Perfect. Thank you.
I'll move a 5% increase for Mr. Alexander.
Through the chair, I just have one more question. It's just the base salary increase we're discussing. Is there an annual bonus performance base? This is the only element of the compensation.
yeah, this is the only thing.
Second. I'm sorry.
No, we gotta put it on the floor.
She
I
did.
moved it and he seconded.
Yeah, but we need to see if any other commissioner wants to make a motion.
No, ma'am.
She did a motion. I second.
I make a motion, it's second, it goes to the floor, and you can vote it up and down.
Okay.
Is that correct? Through the chair to the attorney?
Yes, through the chair, I think, as the chair may have wanted to hear a little bit more input, but from a Robert Rule standpoint, a board member can make a motion at any time and you can get a second, and that motion's on the floor. You're correct.
Okay, it was, the motion was made for 5%, and it was made by Commissioner Phillips, and it was seconded by Commissioner Briggs. But I'm sorry, before I put it to a vote, to Ms. Lazikia, we can come back with another offer though, right?
Absolutely, because remember, at this point, you need a unanimous vote. So it would behoove you as a board to get all the information that you need to get. Otherwise, you're just voting up or down, voting up or down, voting up or down. So, okay. Hope that helps.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I second the motion so we can have discussion, put it in proper order.
All right.
So
he seconded, Mr. Briggs seconded the motion, so, we're gonna now open up for discussion to the Board of Commissioners.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. my question was, the 5% in relation to 5% in relation to what we offer our employees. Where does that stand? Where does that stand?
So can you rephrase the?
Yeah, the 5%, is that consistent with what we're offering our employees?
So for an exceeds evaluation rating for an employee, so we did 3, 4, 5%. So that would be a 5% increase for our employees, yes.
Okay, so 5% is consistent with what we're offering our employees.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner, and Betty,
Through the chair, based on all of the other evaluations I've seen, I would be supportive of a higher percentage. However, if we can't get that done in this meeting, I am still more than willing to continue and approve the motion in order to move on with this process.
okay. Yeah, I too, would like to see, a higher, presented to, Mr. Alexander for the evaluation. I don't know, we can take the 5% to a vote and then we can reopen it, for another, okay. So all in favor for, all comments, is that all of the comments?
Well, I do, I just want to add
Okay.
one more. I mean, are we sure we want to do something that's inconsistent with what we're offering our staff? I mean, if we just offer Mr. Alexander more than 5%, do we want to do that in light of the fact that we're, that's the highest level we're offering staff for that level? I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but I'm certain people who are getting their 5, who are staff, will probably feel the same way as well.
Well,
Just a question I'm asking.
well, we can definitely, if you want me to, we have senior staff online, if you want me to open up for comments, but Mr. Alexander, you gotta keep in mind that he's not wearing just one hat, and he's also working out of class. And so you have to take all of those things under consideration when you say, because our staff that we gave 5% to, they are working in their various departments that they're in.
And all due respect, Madam Chairman, I think that we addressed that in the last few raises that were given. And can you say the dates of what those increases were for me, please? You know what the dates of them?
Yes.
And the amounts of each of them?
Okay, so if we look at December 6th, 2018 is when he received a 20% increase to go into the interim position. That took him from $120,749 to $144,899. And then he received another increase on October 1st, 2019, 5%. That took him to $152,144. I'm sorry, that was backed out. That was an error. I apologize. We did not apply that. That was taken out. There was a correction made. So when we did, and let me clarify. So when we did a raise for all of the employees during that time, originally he had gotten one, but they corrected that because he wasn't part of that evaluation period until the board actually administered his evaluation. So that was corrected, so I stand corrected there. However, he received for his evaluation for that year a 15% increase. That took him to $166,634 from $144,899.
And he stands at 180 now, so there was another.
Correct, so that was part of the application of the compensation study, the NAROD compensation study, where all of the agency received an increase to go to the base of that compensation study.
Right.
That was exactly what my question going to be. I was under the understanding that Mr. Alexander was not part of the increase in the study, but he was
He
factored.
received the base of the study, however, he did not receive the performance evaluation component.
Correct.
So the employees received the performance-based as well as the NAILROD compensation study. So he actually became to the baseline of a CEO at that time. Prior to that, he was not at the baseline of a CEO, even with the 20% increase.
And the percentage from 2018 in the 2 years, the percentage, if my calculations are correct, is how much? I don't have my calculator.
So are you asking what did he receive over the 2-year period?
From the
Okay.
144 to the 180?
Oh, from the 144 to 180.
Correct.
I was doing from the 120.
The 120, yes, I'm sorry, the 120.
So
you're right.
that's almost a 50% increase, but that is from back in 2018.
However,
Prior to-
understanding the $120,749 was his salary as a VP in his role. When we put
We
him,
understand that.
Yes.
okay, so I didn't know if,
I was just answering.
Okay.
No, that's good. Through the chair, I believe the compensation for a CEO, the performance is subject to a lot more scrutiny, including public scrutiny, and as such, his performance evaluation process is much more rigid and difficult, and you're held to a different standard, Mr. Alexander. That's riskier, much higher risk. So I do think he should be evaluated in a different rating and percentages as other employees.
Right.
I do not know if this is the right time to do that, or if it is something that we should implement for the next evaluation cycle, but we need to put it in process as quickly as possible because it's coming up in September to evaluate. So I am supportive to approve a higher percentage increase just because of the level of scrutiny that comes with that role. I do not think he should be pegged to the rest of the organization. I'm supportive of approving something higher or taking that into this next year and revamping the way his percentage increases work, because he does have an excellent rating. Even if he backed me out, he still would be at an excellent rating. So that's what I would propose we do for the next time. He has been benchmarked.
Do you have
so
a
that's
figure
good.
that, like Ms. Commissioner Phillips said, 5%, do you have a percentage that you would like to present?
Is this the right process, Ms. Hodges?
Yeah, so through the chair, what I would do is I would, dispense with this order. And again, you need a unanimous vote. So at some point to give him any kind of raise, if you can't get to some consensus, he'll get no raise just because you can't, get any agreement. And then the last thing I'll say procedurally, this was listed on the board agenda as just Dwayne Alexander's evaluation. There was no detail about the pay raise piece of this. So I would prefer you to open this up for public comment if there are any, members of the public on the phone, just because we're talking about something that's different in my mind from the evaluation that you just did. It just wasn't advertised on your agenda.
Okay.
Can I ask a question on that? I heard the chair say earlier that she had some senior staff that might want to comment relative to this. My concern with staff comment.
No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. I say, did y'all want me to open up for senior staff? Because we have senior staff on.
Okay.
That's what I said.
Okay, excuse me, what I heard was senior staff comment.
No.
But my concern with that is that it doesn't allow for other staff members to participate in the comments. Most of the senior staff were hired by Mr. Alexander, and I'm sure are very supportive and would be very positive in their comments, and maybe many of the other employees. And so I just think, and again, is it appropriate for the staff during work hours to be commenting on the executive director's evaluation once it's opened up?
Right. So through the chair, we definitely had this conversation come up in the past. I believe all of the staff that's currently here is attending this meeting because their supervisors or Dwayne or what have you have asked them to be here. So they're here in their workers' capacity. If they were here in their individual capacity, as we've said in the past, they can certainly do that, but they've got to go through whatever the leave process is. to fill out leave slips in order to make personal comments about any of the topics that the board's been talking to today. And as long as they follow the leave process that's approved by supervisors, that can be done. I'll remind you in the past, as the chair, of course, always have a certain prerogative, a certain amount of discretion. And I think even you as the chair has allowed that when it's been a major sort of controversial topic and you're wanting to hear from your employees. So always remember, when it comes to public comment, the chair, it's always in your discretion. Notwithstanding that, yes, these members would need to fill out whatever leave or have done that to the extent they're making a personal comment as to any matter that the board is about to take a vote.
Okay, so we're gonna open up to public comments. I believe that we have, other than staff on public comments, is that can speak as well. Do we have?
Through the chair,
Yes.
can we pass the 5% motion so that that's approved? And in case this takes longer and Mr. Griggs does have to go,
Well,
because he was very
he
kind
have
to stay.
But if he have to go,
Then
if
we,
Mr. Briggs have to go and we come, let's say hypothetically, that motion dies, what Commissioner Phillips said, and he leaves, we again still would not be able to make an action on Mr. Alexander's salary. We would not be able to give him anything until the next time we have a board meeting.
is that correct? So we cannot
Yes,
say
ma'am.
yes on the
3
5,
weeks,
okay.
it takes
I
4.
apologize,
Yeah,
that's
it takes
fine.
4,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Madam
we
Chair,
can't approve the 5%
Yeah.
right
we
now.
can't approve the 5% now?
No,
We
If
can.
we had 4.
we can if we have 4.
We are for that can approve the 5, and then we can discuss an increase to that so that that piece is executed.
I don't think so. Legal team,
Mr. Chair, can I just to clarify, I think there's some confusion. So you absolutely can approve whatever increase, 5%, 20%. You can do that right now today. I indicated that because an increase to the pay was not on the agenda today. So it wasn't posted as a public body. You've got to outline for the public what's going to be on the agenda. All that's on the agenda is the evaluation. And I see that as the action that you just took, that the HR director went through with you. And so all I'm saying is that before you take action, and this is a legal nuance, Commissioner Fernandez, before you take action, you have to open it up for public comment. Because it hasn't been advertised on your agenda.
Understood. Thank you.
so that being said, we're gonna open up for public comments. Any public comments on Mr. Alexander, evaluation?
Madam Chair,
The evaluation's already been voted on, so it's on the
I mean,
increase.
on the
It's on the motion.
increase.
it's on the motion, the 5% motion. That's still on the floor.
And we don't
But I
take
thought
public
legal
comment.
team
You
said-
can take public comment before we vote.
That motion is still on the floor.
We take public comment before we vote.
So do y'all wanna vote on the motion, or you wanna get the comments?
It's
comments are
what is
part of
got
the
a
motion.
hand on.
I understand that, that's what I'm saying, do you want to hear the comments?
That's what Ms. Hodges said. we had.
Okay. Public comments,
Larry Hayes is the first one.
okay. What's the name?
Larry Hayes.
Larry
Hayes.
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 Good afternoon, Madam Chairman. I'm the director of HUD for the Jacksonville field office. So my question is going to first go to Ms. Hodges. I believe she represents council. So I don't want to interfere with the process. I just want to get some general information before I make a comment. Has the field office ever commented during one of these procedures before?
No,
Not that I'm aware of.
not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So I just want to, without making comment, I just want to ask a couple of questions. Your quorum would be 4 or more to have a quorum. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. But to vote on the CEO or the interim president's compensation, you need at least 4 affirmative regardless of the size of the quorum. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's what our bylaws, it requires 4 affirmative votes.
Okay. All right. That's going to be my only comment at this time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Sarah Wilson.
Sarah Wilson.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
I have made public comments on multiple occasions, and I'm here to speak to you again about our interim CEO, Mr. Alexander. I have engaged with Mr. Alexander in 3 capacities. Number 1 as a resident, number 2 as a resident council member, and number 3 as the RAB president. Mr. Alexander has always made himself available, no matter which hat I was wearing when I asked to speak with him. He listens attentively to my requests and/or concerns, and he actively works to bring the situation to an amicable end. I know numerous residents that have had the same experience with Mr. Alexander. What a blessing it is for the residents to have a man of Mr. Alexander's caliber here with us with this agency. However, I feel it is a shame that he has been left as the interim CEO and not been compensated properly. With all that Mr. Alexander brings to the residents and to the Housing Authority as a whole, he has continued to do so without the recognition or compensation that he duly deserves. I ask of you, Board of Commissioners, to honor the wishes of the residents and first, place Mr. Alexander permanently as our CEO, and second, to please compensate him to match what he does. Thank you.
Thank you.
There is actually another resident that is using my computer to make comments.
Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Barbara Sanchez, and I'd like to speak to Mr. Alexander as well. Mr. Alexander, you should know how the residents stand behind you. We see your hard work. We believe you when you say it is the residents that we serve, and serve is what you do. My prayer is this, that the Board of Commissioners acknowledge and agree that you are the person to become the CEO of Jacksonville and give you the pay that goes with that. Excellent is the work that you do, and no weapon formed against you will prosper. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Is that this for other people or can employees speak?
Yeah, employees can speak at this time.
I'd like to make another comment. Again, I want to reiterate the fact that he's done more in the 2 years that he's been here than the whole 13 years that I've been in the IT position. He works very hard, and I just see it as a shame that he's going through this right now. And you know, I support him as a leader. He's demanding. He's very demanding because he has so much to get done, and I just support him.
Any other staff? Okay, we see you.
Hi, my name is Jackie Harris, and I am a recent hire. I come from the public sector, and based on what I've seen since I've been here, we have an excellent man in charge. We are an AMO accredited agency. That means that we're an accredited management organization. Most private sectors don't have that. Managers are being certified in professional property management. That's unheard of in a lot of agencies. Now, I'm just going back on facts, what I've seen since I've been here. I've seen ethics, I've seen morals, I've been told that this agency is customer based. Our customers are our number one priority. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, I would like to speak. Madam Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, I'm Linda Sims, and I have been here for quite some time. And I've worked for 3 CEOs, 15 years with the first one, 6 years with the second one. First year, 15 years with the first one, 6 years with the second one, and the 3 years I've worked with, almost 3 years with Mr. Alexander. I have not seen as much dedication, productivity, and passion as I have with Mr. Alexander in the last 10 years. I've been here for 23 years. He is dedicated to serving the residents. He is not selfish in serving with the staff. He is very compassionate about what he does. He did not have to do what he has done for the time that he has worked here as an interim. The goals, he has exceeded them. He has continued to strive to make more goals for this agency that was never asked of him. And he does not and should not go through what he's going through. And I commend him. I'm sure I'm speaking for most of the staff, and I support him. And I would like the board to open up their eyes, to be fair and objective, and to compensate him fairly and to give him what he deserves with the residents and with the staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, Kathy Hunt.
Madam Chair, I've been here, October will be 25 years. And I can honestly say in the time frames that I've been here under Mr. Alexander, he takes more time than anyone ever has to explain, to go back to the basics sometime with things. And a lot of the things that we face, and with all the influx of vouchers, these are things that we are receiving in rapid numbers that we have not received in the past. And I can honestly say that we do appreciate the fact that he's tough on us. I will not tell you that, but he expects what he expects, and he's willing to show you how to. So I could have nothing but respect for someone that takes that kind of time. We have been here, many of us have been here through the wee hours, and we weren't here alone. He was here with us. So I just want the board to know that with all the obstacles that have been placed in front of him, he still used them as hurdles to succeed in what the company is trying to do. And that he really does have the heart of a giant to see about the staff. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Ms. Hunt.
If there's no further comments, I'd like to call.
Chair,
Yes.
I would like to speak.
Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Sequoia Ingram, and I'm a property manager for the Jacksonville Housing Authority. And Mr. Alexander has displayed great leadership, mentorship, and has pushed our agency, giving individuals a way to better provide for their families and also have pride in their employer and ourselves. It's been a benefit as well as a blessing to have the opportunity to work with such a great leader. And he provides structure and gives feedback to allow us to grow. I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? If that being all, we're going to close out public comments. What did you say, Commissioner Phillips?
Madam Chair, I appreciate all the comments of all the employees, but I go back to my original comment as it relates to employees. I don't think all employees were given the same opportunity, and there may be employees who were not invited to be on the call or have different. I have had employees to approach me, which may have commented in a different way, and so I've heard it from both sides, which may not have been the experience of other board members, but as I go out in the community, because I live in the community in the areas where many of these housing units are, I'm approached by residents and landlords as well as employees of the housing authority. And so that's my concern with fairness. If we're going to have a 360 evaluation, we need to allow all employees to have input in the process and what's going on. But I'd call the question that's on the floor.
Okay, before we call the question, I would like to give some comments. I would like to say to all of you that did give public comments, thank you for engaging in your comments. I want to say to Mr. Alexander, because I was a part of the board before Mr. Alexander became the interim CEO of the board. I came on the board when Mr. McKinney was the CEO here, and this is for the benefit of our new commissioner. I've never seen the board meeting at the magnitude that the board meetings are at now. And what do I mean by that? I never received a report from Mr. McKinney. We had one sheet of paper from the board meetings. And so our board never gave, when we made him the interim, we never gave him any goals to make for this agent. He just followed through from his history of being in leadership and made goals for the agent. That's why you hear what some of the comments have been made. We as a board were supposed to give him some goals, but we never presented any goals to him to say, hey, we want you to do this. No. And even when it was said last time about the evaluation, that some of the things that were done was already in motion, they were in motion, but he had to carry them out. They had not been carried out yet. So just say all of that to say that, Mr. Alexander, I want to tell you that I appreciate your work that you bring to the Housing Authority and what you've done for the staff, as well as the residents, and as well as preparing the board to have a clear knowledge and understanding of what's happening here at the Jacksonville Housing Authority. I want to thank you for that. So that being said, we call the question. Yes, sir.
Given the fact that you've made comments, I'd like to make a couple of comments too. I just want the record to reflect that this decision is not a reflection upon Mr. Alexander. We all can agree that he's done a great job. My position continues to be consistent with the scrutiny this organization is under from a public perspective. We have to do things in order and consistently to make sure that people watching us from the outside, the public itself, sees that we're not doing anything that's inconsistent with the way other agencies operate and the way our public dollars are being spent. I have no problem, giving Mr. Alexander what he's due and how much, if it were left up to me, we bring him in line with the private sector CEO. But because we're a public agency, we're a public entity, we have to be careful about how we do things. And my recommendation for 5%, being consistent with what we offer our staff, is for that purpose and that purpose only because we have to bear the scrutiny of the public. And that's my perspective. It has nothing to do with the work that he's doing, absolutely nothing. And we know that the evaluation speaks for itself, and we're going to let him, ride the wave on the evaluation. We're going to do the best we can to compensate him for that. But my concern always is that when we look at other agencies, how they've been drawn into, because they haven't paid attention to how they're doing business at the board level regarding compensation, regarding how they treat people on the highest level in the leadership positions, You know, we're bored. We're supposed to be watching out for those inconsistencies and making sure that we don't fall into that trap as well. So I applaud Mr. Alexander for the work he's doing. You know, we talk often. He knows it. Now, he's one of my favorite people. But I cannot, in good conscience as a board member, do things that are out of perspective of the way a board is supposed to operate for a public agency. And when we get in a position where we can do that, I'll be the first person to lead that chair down that street for those higher compensations. In my perspective, we have to remain consistent with what we're doing across the agency. Otherwise, we invite ourselves to scrutiny from the public. That's all I have to say.
Well, that's good. That's a good comment, Commissioner Briggs. And I don't want to do this, but we have to go back. We have to go back to our last CEO. And if you say that you want to do what you did for the other employees, that's not how the board did for our last CEO. He got more than what the employees got. It's in the record.
Well, that's why we're here.
And,
Fix that.
and I understand that, but to agree with Commissioner Annabelle and what she said, we hold him to a higher standard because he's in charge of this agent to do the things that is right and to cause this agent to move in the right posture. Ms. Reed, can you tell me what is I don't even know if you have it, what is the baseline for a CEO of the size of housing authority we have with the ranking that we have in the state of Florida?
So are you asking, and I'm sorry, Madam Chair, are you asking in reference to?
Because we are large.
So just in the state of Florida. So we are it's Miami-Dade first, then Tampa, and if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Alexander, it will be Jacksonville?
That's correct.
Okay, so give me a minute, I'll have to give you Miami-Dade and Tampa where that is, and I'll have that for you for sure.
And when you tell us that, can you tell us how large their organization is as far as?
Vouchers. I'll sit back.
And while you're getting that, Ms. Reed, because what I'm saying is that, and I understand what you're saying, Commissioner Briggs, when you say about people watching us and we be in the right posture to do whatever we're doing. And I want to be in that posture too. I don't never want to be a part of something that is not done right or fairly or whatever, but what I'm saying is we got to make sure that when we are doing this and we are saying these things, that we look at the broad picture and we look at all of it across the board, and that's and being fair. And that's all that I'm saying. I just want us to be fair. And like I said, for what he has done.
Madam President, I've heard several people say that Mr. Alexander, and we are a public agency, so everything we do is in the public, that Mr. Alexander is being treated unfairly. Being treated unfairly based on what is my question? What is the basis for those comments? Did Mr. Alexander say that he's underpaid?
Probably because, like you say, you get comments from the staff. I too get comments from staff and from residents. And probably they're saying that because they don't understand how we can keep someone as an interim CEO that has not totally walked away and left this agent altogether, and we keep him at,
But we need to make sure that the public and the employees understand that a resolution was passed by City Council that basically said that we should not move forward with the process until we had a full board. Now, we can do
They
that.
said that, but they also said, Commissioner Phillip, when you bring that up, they also said that we only had to wait 2 months. Legal counsel talked about that in the last meeting, and she corrected us on that we don't have to wait for a full board. And I've talked to legal counsel about some of the things that we talked about that we were going to try to do, because we don't have to wait for a full board to move forward. Because I don't think that city council would want us to stay in this dilemma and the employees to stay in the dilemma of not knowing, because all of the work that he has done, if we get another CEO, they gotta regroup and come back again and learn all of the things that they have learned now from Mr. Alexander, because no two visions or no two leaders are alike.
That's why you have policies and guidelines. And one thing that HUD has is regulations and policies and guidelines, which basically supersede
Madam Chair,
anything. But we need to get back on task, because I know that you're way past your limit, and I'm approaching a hard stop myself. But
You have it, Ms. Reed, yeah.
So I have Tampa, I don't have Miami-Dade, so I'm trying to get Miami-Dade.
It wasn't on the report that we had previously.
So the nail rock study that you used previously did not compare us to like agencies within the state of Florida. So those two that we should have been compared to was not.
But they're not necessarily like, because both of them, especially Miami, is much, much larger than we are.
Correct.
I think Tampa as well.
Correct. However, the pay study before compared us to like Tallahassee and Gainesville, which we definitely are larger than those. So that's something that we talked
It's a
about.
hard comparison to make.
Right.
Because every city is going to be different.
Okay, so
So to answer your question for Tampa, the CEO minimum is $250,778. And that's the minimum. And I would have to get my name for you.
okay, but that's the minimum, that's where they start them out at.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
And we are talking
Okay.
still about an interim. We don't have a permanent person in place. And until and unless this board takes action, that's the current situation.
Okay. We'll call to question, we're ready to go for a vote, for, Ms. Alexander's salary. The motion was made for 5%. All in favor for 5%?
Aye.
Aye.
I oppose.
Madam Chair, can I make a comment real
Yes.
quick? I'm, at this point, I'm gonna have to leave.
Okay,
And, but I
that's
would,
fine.
I'm asking that, I'm asking, and hopefully you'll take my recommendation that you meet with our council liaison, Councilman Dennis, and get us a recommendation from him on how council would like to see us proceed in conjunction with recommendations from legal counsel.
I did meet with him.
Okay, all right, thank you. And,
I didn't meet with the liaison, but I did meet with legal counsel last week.
okay.
I did meet with her.
All right. I don't know if that would satisfy, because what we might find ourselves is that we see more legislation in the future if we're trying to address the situation. So I would probably recommend that we have that, the will of the council at our, at our back, in a process that we're trying to move forward on.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. That being all, and that being said, we would have to close out our Jacksonville Authority Board of Commissioners meeting. We do not have any more at this time at 4:06. We do not have a quorum, so we would have to close our meeting out, and we would have to pick back up. is it, what is the date?
May 17th.
May 17th. Also, I want to say though, before you leave, Mr. Briggs, to legal counsel, at this time, can I sit up for a special meeting, or do I just need to direct it through Mr. Alexander to call for a special meeting?
Right, through the chair, as the chair, you can call a special meeting. So you just coordinate that with the staff, and the staff will do a poll to see when's the earliest the members can meet.
Okay, all right.
With specificity, we should figure out
I'm
if we
trying to
can
do
vote on
Friday
a
the
motion
23rd, yeah.
to make the position a full-time position, or if the board ends up opposing to that, but we need to be specific and
Yeah,
address the issue,
I
whether
am.
yay or nay.
Okay, I am. That's what I'm calling a special meeting for.
Thank you.
And I want to shoot for April the 23rd, if everybody is available, because I'm trying to get for Ms. Phillip go out of the country. When you say you're going out of the country?
I'm going out of the country in June, but I'm out of the city from Wednesday of this week through Tuesday of next week.
So if we
And then
put it
again,
to that Friday, the 30th?
I will be here.
Okay, so we'll see if Mr. Briggs, and what about you? What's your schedule look like, Ms. Annabelle, that 30th?
It'll be very hard, but depending the time of the day.
What's your time?
The morning works
Will work
best.
better for you? Okay, well, we'll see if we can get it set up for that morning. We'll get with Mr. Briggs and our other commissioner, and I definitely gonna get with legal team again. And Ms. Reed, can you look at your schedule and clear your schedule for that meeting as well, please?
The
Thank you.
23rd does not work.
No, that
That's-
don't work,
okay,
yeah.
Great.
Commissioner Phillips is gonna be out of town. Okay, so we're gonna close our meeting out because we don't have a quorum anymore. Do we need to make a motion? Legal team, do we need to make a motion to close the meeting?
No, I mean, through the chair, you actually got through all of your agenda items. That the last motion just failed, so it just died. You can bring it up at the next meeting. So I think you can adjourn as the chair, and then because you don't have a quorum, you can't have your BPAL meeting. Okay, so that meeting will be canceled for lack of a quorum.
Right, okay, all right, thank you. Thank y'all so much.
Thank
you. Everything, thank you.
I didn't get a chance to do the CEO report.
I know, and you're doing.